The lowest intensity work you do should still look like performance. If it doesn't, it will have a detraining effect. I mean, this should be written on your walls. He calls it a 14-point turnaround. He's a huge football fan. It's kind of like your team was on the 1-yard line and you're going to score, but instead you throw an interception, the other team takes it to the house, and it's a 14-point turnaround. So when you do low intensity work, think 20 gassers or something like that, you are detraining speed. You are detraining speed. So you are missing out on so many. It's ridiculous when I see the average football team practice, how little concern they have with speed. Aerobic running fucks up mechanics, confuses the CNS, and kills cats. You just cannot you cannot jog your team into being successful. The grind makes it difficult to train your most explosive fibers. This is a quote from Christian McCaffrey, and his off-season training has zero endurance, zero. There is nothing that is aerobically focused all summer. He stacks together anaerobic work, just like a football game. Speed reserve will make you good in the fourth quarter. These Alabama guys are all putting up the stupid 4-finger things, but Alabama's going to change real quick into being a speed team instead of a Neanderthal team. It's because these two guys, what they did, Indiana, was absolutely crazy. They turned Indiana, one of the worst programs in the nation, into a quality program that focused on speed. And to Saban's credit, these two guys are now running the show at Alabama. I truly believe that Alabama won in spite of a lot of dumb things they were doing, and they're not going to do dumb things anymore. This is important. It has nothing to do with football, but yes, it does. No amount of conditioning makes the last 100 meters of the 400 pleasant. Running the 400 is the hardest thing I think there is in all sports. To try to sprint an entire lap is the hardest thing I can imagine. Well, in that 100 meters, no matter how well conditioned you are, I don't care if these guys that are chasing Marcellus here, if these guys have run 100 miles in practice, they still will not feel fresh in the last 100 meters of the 400. That's the way I see football. There's nothing you can do during the week that will make your team fresh for the fourth quarter. Nothing. The team that runs 100 gassers are in no better shape in the fourth quarter than the team that ran 0. As a matter of fact, I think the team that ran 0 gassers are better off in the fourth quarter because they're faster and fresher going into that fourth quarter. They'll still be tired, but there's nothing we can do to take that away. We want to get to the line or get to the game 80% in shape and 100% healthy, rather than the other way around. I would say every football team I've ever been around has been the other way around. They were 100% in shape and 80% healthy. I think you're going to need to find the minimum effective dose, not 10 reps of a play, but 1 perfect rep. Not 100 routes, but 10 good ones. You don't fill your practice time. You should do the important things and then go home. Minimum effective dose lacks the grit and manliness of the football culture. I truly believe many football coaches would rather lose than be outworked. And this is exactly what many football coaches have told me when we're talking about a feed the cats approach to football. They will say things like, coach, if I win my first 8 games doing this and lose my 9th one, I might get fired because I didn't work them hard enough during the season. And I have to tell them, I say, yeah, you're probably right. I've actually seen it happen before, where a guy lost in the playoffs, and because they did not do conditioning at the end of practice, that was the thing that was the parents thought had gone wrong. This is Eric Korm. He's a TFC, Track Football Consortium guy, and a good friend of mine. He said in a tweet the other day, I think every coach should be uncomfortable with how little they do in the first week. Just a brilliant statement. I love the word uncomfortable, because what he's saying here is you should do so little that that it bugs you, because that means that you're not letting today ruin tomorrow. That means you're taking care of speed. And I actually subtweeted this and said I think every coach should be uncomfortable with how little they do the entire season. Because when I say uncomfortable, there's a reason why you will be uncomfortable, and that's because you're a football coach and you're a grinder and you're the hardest working guy in the world and all that stuff, and it will just bug the hell out of you if your kids are not crawling off the field. Moderate exercise never leads to high performance. I really believe that as soon as you say, I'm going to do less, I'm going to practice for 2 hours instead of 3, for example, I think the quality of your practice may double. I tell the story often. My dad was a basketball coach. He was my coach. He coached for 47 years basketball, and he did something brilliant. Oftentimes he did brilliant things, but he called us together the week of a big game and said, you know, we're not going to practice 2.5 hours this week. We're going to practice for 90 minutes, and we're not going to do any conditioning at the end of practice. And we just looked at each other with big eyes, and it was like practice was like all hell breaking loose. We played so freaking hard in practice. It was just crazy. And you know, we'd win the game on Friday night. My dad'd be all pumped up and he'd say, hey, it worked. And I'd say, why don't we do that all year, Dad? Why don't we do that all year? Well, why wait till the important game to have great practices? This is probably a sign that's, you know, on every football field, you know, no loitering, no standing around. However, football is actually a game of standing around. In NFL games, there are 75 televised, we're not even talking about the commercials where they're standing around, 75 televised minutes of grown men loitering. 75 minutes in an NFL game. So what this tells me is, for all of you artistic football coaches who see their practice as their artwork, and you are going to run from drill to drill, and it's going to be a beautiful thing to see, you are not preparing your kids for the high intensity work and then the low intensity loitering that makes up a football game. It's not going to be as pretty if you do it like this, but I think winning is more important. But how will we get in shape? How are we going to get in shape if we stop doing gassers and stadium stairs? Well, you're going to get in shape by intensity, top speed stuff, recovery, and then repeating it. Brian Kula is the trainer for Christian McCaffrey, and he says you're going to get aerobically fit by stacking together anaerobic work. Christian McCaffrey did nothing for more than 6 seconds last year. 6 seconds in the entire offseason. Zero work on endurance. Zero. But yet he won the endurance test with the Carolina Panthers. He won it. So believe it or not, you can get aerobically fit without doing jogging or some type of aerobic focused drill. I always suggest a hard, easy approach, as Bill Bowerman, who said that world records never came from moderate exercise. And I think instead of hard, easy is what Bowerman said. I think high, low is better. We're talking about high speed practices and low speed practices, and Brad Dixon's going to talk about that in a minute. So my weekly plan would be like code yellow, code red, code green. And so you would have 3 high days a week. I like the idea of sprinting on Monday, Wednesday, and game day. There's nothing wrong with doing it Tuesday, Thursday, and game day, but I actually kind of focus on Thursday doing as little as possible. Matter of fact, I suggest to football coaches to even take Thursday off. Having an off day the day before a game is actually a pretty cool thing. So, you know, this will probably bother you because, you know, you'll say, gee, how are you? Yeah, you just need to listen to what Brad Dixon has to say about this. I think every football coach, every parent, every person, they just want to go in all directions. They want to work hard doing every single thing. And, you know, the thing that's so bad about this is that, like I say, if you're doing some of the dumb things that most football coaches do, then your team will be slow on Friday night. They may still win on Friday night because you have better players. They may still win on Friday night because your team's dumb, the other team's dumber. But you need to be aware of what you're doing to kids when you condition them and you practice too long and do all those things. In Feed the Cats, the main thing is keep the main thing the main thing, and the main thing is max speed. Now, I've already said, you're not going to stop lifting. You're not going to stop X and O. I mean, you will continue to do those things that football programs do well. But when you really put tons of focus on speed, you will get further. If I was a football coach, what I would want at the end of this summer is to have 30 guys running sub 4.6 on my varsity football team. So let's have an overview now. Moderate exercise never leads to high performance. Sprinting should replace running. My track team never runs a lap in practice. Never let today ruin tomorrow. Never burn the stake. Tired is the enemy, not the goal. We want to produce racehorses and not workhorses. We'd rather be 100% healthy and 80% in shape than the other way around. We want to get aerobically fit. This is the mind-blowing thing, by crowding together anaerobic work. I heard Cal Dietz on a webinar last week say that during their 2-week aerobic focus, I questioned the semantics of this, but during his 2-week aerobic focus, they don't do any jogging or stadium stairs or anything like that. They get it done in the weight room, and they basically will do like 1 rep things, and they kind of hustle from exercise to exercise, and their pulse, their heart rate stays high. And basically what he's doing is stacking together anaerobic work. So I would not call that. Is there an aerobic benefit? Of course there is. But when it's anaerobic work, I don't call it aerobic. An aerobic focus, like jogging, for example, interferes with maintaining and increasing speed. You should eliminate conditioning, eliminate in shape. I hate that word. Eliminate general fitness. And if you're looking for high performance, these things are not high performance, period. Practices should be fast and intense, not long and hard. I think the average football practice is long and hard. I think you should practice the disciplined pursuit of less. You should do less and achieve more. You should cut down your practice time that will force you to eliminate the bullshit from your time and go big on the things that matter, including speed. And then the foundation of your entire program, if you want high performance, must be rest, recovery, and sleep. You must give your kids enough time to repeat a route, an exercise, whatever you're doing. You must give them enough time to repeat it at a high speed, high intensity level. The only way to do that is give them enough time in between the reps. You should not crowd them together so much that you're practicing slow and tired all the time. And it's crazy that in my athletic career, and I was a 3-sport athlete, in my athletic career, no coach ever told me that sleeping 8 hours a night would make me a better athlete. No coach ever told me that. And that's sad because it's 100% true. And I talk about that with my kids all the time. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony.
Any questions from the panel or anything that needs clarified?
Hey, Tony, you have a lot of metrics like in your, when you're working through, your 23-second drill and all that stuff. Is there any metrics that you would think of when you're trying to gauge, your players' ability to repeat sprints or their ability to repeat? Is there things that you might implement into practice where, you could tell which guys are going to have it a little bit more in the fourth quarter than guys that aren't?
I don't know if there's actual metrics, but I would know. I mean, there's it's just the art of coaching. I just don't see, and you know, with my experience in football, I don't see high quality, high performance athletes fall apart in the fourth quarter. I just don't see that. You know, like I said, the fast guys are still fast in the fourth. Now, you talk about a metric for repeat sprint ability. Um, I I have done things where we run 140 per minute for 10 minutes. It's kind of fun. You do it with a free lap, with a just a kind of a leaning start, 2 cones, and and the second guy starts when the first guy finishes. So you run it with like 10 guys, a group of 10, takes you 10 minutes. If you have more than 2 cones, you can do 2 groups of 10. But after you finish the 40, and it's timed, they walk quickly back and get in line again. So they're running, it takes about, well, you could do like 12 guys would take exactly 1 minute, because you're running one of them every 5 seconds. And you're recording every damn time. And then you come up with their average time. You record, rank, and publish, all those kind of things. And the ability to repeat a sprint is truly what you're trying to get in football. Now, you're not going to get faster doing that drill, because speed, you know, for example, I guarantee you what you'll find if you ever do that are your fastest kids are your best kids at sprinting 10 times in 10 minutes. Of course they are. Because the higher their max speed, the higher their sub max. They're able to run, a guy that can run 4.2 like Marcellus can run 4.6 all day long. And I mean, it's just incredible. So that's actually something you could do.
Tony, what would you say about the people who have said a GPP or aerobic base helps you recover faster?
I think that's true, but what I'm saying is I am 100% certain that you can become aerobically fit without doing traditional continuous aerobic work, if that makes sense. But there's no doubt, like, my sprinters are amazingly aerobically fit without doing any type of endurance specific work. We are just real good at doing intensity and keeping our heart rate high enough that we become aerobically fit in a very performance specific way.
What if you had a JV game on a Thursday before your Friday night game, and or whatever sub varsity level on a Thursday? Would you just then have one sprint practice prior to that Thursday game, so that would be 2 for the week?
You could. Now, I assume those JV players are not playing again on Friday, right? The more I think about the correct number of days to sprint is probably 3 a week, but 2 is okay. 2 is okay. So I would not be afraid of that. I wouldn't be afraid of that at all.
And I guess to follow up on that, just for clarification, is there differences off season, in season for you? Total number of days sprinting if you include a game as a sprint day?
No, it'd be the same.
Okay.
I'm not a believer in building a base. I'm, as a performance coach, I want to be performance ready for the first game. You know, we're not going to wait till the 9th game to be performance ready. You know, I would want my players to be performance ready when they report to camp, which means they've been working on their speed, working on their power, doing some sprint capacity work, but not too much, because remember, anytime you're doing sprint capacity work, you're not getting faster because you're running, you know, sub max 10 times in a row. So you have to really pay attention to that, to freshness and rest and recovery, and really prioritizing teaching speed or doing your speed work when you're fresh.
Tony, how do you sync together max speed concepts and then also balancing getting enough skill practice to benefit the players, football skill practice?
Well, you have a lot of practice time. You can't work on speed for very long. I mean, my sprint workouts for 40 sprinters last 45 minutes. You have 2 non-sprint days where you can do all of your skill work, and you can do skill work on a speed day as well. Those recovery days, it's not like they're out there and they're, just walking around in shorts and tennis shoes or something. I mean, you're still practicing football. Yeah, matter of fact, your practice pretty much looks like practice always looks, except for you are not focused on high speed stuff. You're doing most of your coaching that day, defensive recognition, all that kind of stuff, implementation of plays, whatever you're doing. But the big thing is that those off days, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, I really want to have a great practice tomorrow. I really want to have a great practice tomorrow. I mean, so you're just really working hard at setting up a high speed practice the next day. It's almost like pregame. Like you have 3 different pregames in 1 week. Sunday's pregame for a sprint day on Monday. Tuesday's a pregame for a sprint day on Wednesday. Thursday's a pregame for your game on Friday night. So it's that wave action. And it's not much different than what Jimmy Radcliffe and Chip Kelly did at Oregon, except for the fact that they like to ramp up their speed the day before a game, which is okay.